Inexpensive. I'm sorry, these blue labs are. Just bought a new one. These are like $270 or $300.
These guys last for.
Usually, if they're taken care of, they'll last for a few years. But if you can find one in a case, that's probably what that new probe's for. All right, does anybody have any other questions?
So for like baby greens and things like that, in my mind, they'd be happy with sun, but with dappled shade, like in the summertime. I don't know, do they need full sun to be growing?
Yeah, the more sun on them you have, the better growth rate you're going to get.
The better they grow.
You know, but it also depends. Like arugula and stuff, if you're not growing them full term, cut and regrow, they can take full sun.
Yeah.
They'll get a little bit of wilt. Sometimes in the afternoon, we can change the watering cycles, and that'll take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're cutting and regrowing them when it's really hot, then some afternoon shade because you won't get as many regrowths off.
Okay.
But you guys are harvesting everything live here, right?
We are, but I also don't know if that's
Harvesting
necessarily.
everything
We don't.
live,
We don't
correct?
have to stick to that.
Yeah.
Is my thought right now. I mean, we can cut the arugula and the herbs as well and do live lettuce. I guess depending on what people are looking for.
And that's going to be the biggest question is where's it going?
Yeah.
You know, because like you take arugula, if it's going a long distance, sometimes if you just leave the roots on, it doesn't wilt. Because when you cut arugula, when you cut lettuce, you get wilting factors. For here, if they're using it for lunch straight away, we might as well start experimenting to see what works best for you guys is to cut them, let them regrow.
I think currently all of our accounts are in a 5 mile radius. That was how we started out here, like at the epicenter, and reached 5 miles out.
So with that plan, 5 miles out,
5 miles out.
Do they need the roots?
And that's just delivery. That's not doing the market.
Yeah.
I would look at cutting and regrowing.
Yeah.
But also, and who's that delivery going to?
I think 2 different restaurants, and then also just to nonprofits.
Okay, nonprofit should be no problem. One thing is that they'll have to check into legalities.
Yeah.
Okay, so like Troy out in Phoenix, he sells basil, all his plants, even full-term ones, live, roots attached. But that's because when it comes down to legalities in Phoenix, if he cuts it and sells it to a restaurant, it has to go through a wash, a triple wash.
Okay.
But he can sell a live plant to anybody.
And then it's their responsibility.
And then it's their responsibility what they do with it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay. But he's also doing a high turnover. So cutting and regrowing is a little bit more work because, of course, a lot of leftovers are brown, so you have to make sure you clean it after you cut it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But if it's for here, cut and regrow, because that arugula, I can cut there and it'll be that same size in a week and a half.
Yeah. So for the kitchen use here, that would make sense. All right. And in Florida, is it the same regulation that if it needs to be a live plant, or if you cut it?
No.
Do you have to? Okay, great.
No. Lettuces, I mean, of course, I sell live plants because for us cutting and regrowing like lettuces and stuff, it's not worth it. Like if I'm doing spring mix, it grows so fast, it's like I might as well replant a whole tower. It's a lot less labor work. Arugula, kale, all my herbs, we cut and regrow all those. But also, if you're going to cut and regrow like your Toscano kale there, we're doing 2 seeds at most. Green kale, we're doing 1 to 2 seeds. Because if not, the plant bunches so much you don't get normal size.
How many seeds do you start off with when you seed arugula?
That would be the boys.
15 to 18.
15 to 18
Yeah.
arugula seeds. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah,
Do
mix.
you have one of those little counters, or you just do?
No, so we got this little green thing and we just tap it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
just do it by hand.
Yeah.
Because he said if
Oh,
we counted every
that's
seed,
We'll take it forever.
Yeah.
So we just do it by sound too. We just go 1, 2, 3. And then we count the first one.
Yeah, and then you get
I'm
the
like,
sound.
okay, that's how it looks. And I go
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
And what about
okay.
kale?
Same thing.
That
Kale.
many?
Yeah, kale, lettuce mix, arugula.
Jason was saying to do more seeds.
Only one for bib?
For the chives. But the chives, when they grow, they pretty much fill up a tower. So I don't know that they need to add more.
Well, if you only have 2 or 3, if you're growing them, we do 20.
20.
Yes,
Wow.
and you have a bunch of chives. It's going to be your guys' decision on if you want to experiment with trying to cut and regrow.
We'll see.
You know,
Honestly, just exploring everything we can.
You know, because we can cut and regrow arugula, and it's going to grow back faster than it's going to grow on the first
he
one.
said if you cut it and then did like microgreens, it would spring back.
Well, not even microgreens. You can do them twice the size of this. Cut them in the regrow.
Okay.
So you can get, and your regrowth is a lot quicker than your initial growth.
He's saying we can half
Say again?
to this size again. We can half to that size again.
So for chefs here, like I was telling her, it's the only thing is if you're doing restaurants or anything, you just have to. Every state, every county is different on legalities. Of you can sell pretty much anyone a live plant.
Right.
If you cut it, like in Phoenix, you have to wash it.
When you cut it?
Yes, you have to wash it before you sell it to a restaurant. But you have to do a triple wash. So you actually need a machine to do it. So that's why Troy out there sells live plants. So you can sell live plants.
Right.
And it just goes around some of the legalities. So you just have to double check if the restaurant's here, you can cut and regrow it.
Okay.
And then what you can do with here is experiment. So hey, maybe do half a tower, cut it for them, and then do the rest like you normally do. See, okay, replant this. That means now you're going to see what's ready first off, how they like it. And you might find that it's just a lot less labor. You're using less rock wool. You're getting 2 or 3 cuttings out of a plant instead of a single use.
So for the different plants, how many cuttings do you typically get if you just
It all depends. You know, like arugula, when it's hot, you'll get about 3 to 5. Kale, you can grow full-size kale, and you can cut and regrow that 9 months to a year. After about 9 months, the kale, you got to remember, your tower is also this big round. So you can always do that on the south side. But it's also finding out what everybody's used to. Some people like bigger kale. What do they do with the kale here?
We usually give it to them about this size, maybe a little bigger, a little smaller, in that ballpark, and then they'll cut it up, put it in lettuce, or they'll serve it. We sell it to other people, they'll crisp it up. So they definitely generally eat it all the time.
Okay.
Eat and grow.
So the pH meter there.
We can hook
That's
it up
just
to
an
this.
adjustment. Yeah, that's what this is for. Because you have one for pH. So that little box was the pH meter for it.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
So you can do that. You have to figure out 4 and 7.
Yeah.
Right.
So then it calibrates on 4, then you calibrate it on 7. So then they're fairly accurate for a while. That one,
How often do you have to
This one?
recalibrate?
really important with these, and I'll tell you, well, you probably don't have the instructions for them, is anybody using this one, this unscrews, and this diode always has to stay wet, so there's always fluid in there.
Okay.
So if you are using this one, whatever you do, make sure there's always water in there. 'Cause if the diode dries out, then these are about $80 a piece, and you have to keep replacing them.
Just toast.
So you can use, it can sit right in water. It just can't dry out, is what Blue Labs told me.
But some of them are very, I have a different company pH, and they're very specific about don't use water, don't use distilled water.
You know
Use
why?
that buffer, and they want to tell you that.
Why is that?
Because they want to sell you their buffer. Like there's another company we used to use, and only our calibration fluids will work with our tester, and they're like twice the price. And I'm like, so I calibrate. I spent one day just trying different ones. It's like, no, you told me this is the only thing that'll kill the whole tester. It's not out of warranty. Well, sorry.
How many towers do you have on your farm?
In the Keys, we only have 35. At Mom's place, we had there anywhere. We varied a lot, so anywhere from 50 running to 120.
Is that
So-
still going?
Yeah, it's still there.
You do mainly lettuce?
Lettuce, greens. Yeah, we do some play around with other stuff. And mostly lettuce and greens we try and stay with.
Can you talk about what's in the tonic?
Well, when you add it with the water, then there's water and minerals. Can I talk about it? I know everything in the tonic, but I'm not allowed to talk about it. Just there's 16 main elements. There's a variety of a bunch of micro and macronutrients.
You're sworn to secrecy.
Well, nobody's supposed to know. There's only a few people that know.
But it's not considered organic, right?
No. What's my read on organic and how we grow compared to certified organic? Put it like this, in California, it was like 7 years ago, they approved diesel fuel as a fungicide in organic gardening for about 6 months. They thought it was a great idea. What it is, it comes down to me is what you put on the plants. I mean, an earth-based mineral blend is just refined earth salts. So you're taking up nutrients and the same stuff you'd find in the soil. To me, it comes down to what you apply on the outside, what soaks in the leaves. So if you use an organic means, what we find with growing this way is organic means is it's a lot easier to do pest control than in the soil. We have a lot less issues of soil-based pests. But here, as we get better airflow, it's a lot easier to take care of a lot of different things. So,
This is organic.
everything else looks good. All right, so well, you know some of the issues. The main thing's powdery mildew.
Yep.
That's going to be the biggest one.
Wilting.
A few other things. You guys know what thrips are?
Thrips?
Yeah.
Nope.
Can't really tell. It sure looks like thrip damage to me.
I mean,
Thrip or thrip?
That's
Thrip.
That's inside the actual leaf itself.
THRIP. So they're thrips. Basically, thrips is, if you had a microscope, you can go under and you see these little bugs crawling around. What they do is they actually eat the top skin of the leaves. They're not detrimental to the plants, but if you notice, you'll get that. You'll see all the speckling
Spotting? Yeah.
and the spotting. Okay, that's generally a sign of thrip damage. So that's going to come down to same thing. Neem oil. Neem works really well. I can give you some other. We can go over some other products. But the thing is they do spread easy. That's why a lot of our greenhouses, our indoor greenhouses with cooling fans, we have a Thrips screen, which is basically a screen on the outside, on the pad side where it sucks the air in. That's basically the holes are so small it barely lets air through, but it keeps the little thrips and stuff out. Because like Arizona's really bad with it. I have them down in the Keys, and what it is they cause that speckling. So that's something else we have to look at. And then we'll go. What do you guys do? How often do you do pest control?
We actually have to come up with a new schedule for that because we didn't know. We have a pest control backpack in there, but we never knew how to use it.
Well, if we're doing pest control, we're going to nail it down to there should only be 1 or 2 people that are responsible for that are going to do that, so you know things don't get.
Could it be 3?
It can be 3.
Okay.
It's just you want 3 people that know. Okay, so this is exactly
it'll be
what we're doing. Yeah.
him,
Okay. Perfect.
us 3.
So we'll go. Why don't we go sit in the shade because everybody looks hot.
15 at a time, but I kind of want to up it to 20 just to see, have more room for failure in case anything happens per se. If we do 20,
You don't want to do too much ahead of time because then and we'll sit down. We'll work out a schedule. But if you do too much ahead of time, then you're going to end up with a lot of extra. You don't know what to do.
okay,
So
yeah,
and most of the things will be fine, but some of them, you put lettuce get too big, you'll start to get bitter before you even plant it.
Yeah.
And then it's not really worth it.
yeah, there's a lot of
But then when I talk to Manny and John, we'll talk about seedlings, and he wants to do seedlings here for pickup for other people.
right.
So and then that's going to be kind of a play by ear of this is extras,
Yeah,
extra section
have like
that
a
we have.
layout or like a blueprint per se too, because I was thinking if we looked at the layout of the blueprint, we'd be like, all right, we're gonna put this here. 'Cause there's so much unused space for a lot of just
What, the seating tables?
well, that or like stuff back there, like where are we gonna put all this stuff? Like where are we gonna sell the seeds out of? I mean, I guess we could do it out of here, but it'd be nicer to have maybe like a walk-in fridge for them if we had that many. If we're gonna sell, depending on what their plan is, right?
What would you do in an ideal situation if you were starting from
Well, if we're
scratch
doing
for
seedlings,
seeds?
no, you'll
Seedlings.
have your stuff you guys rotate through,
Right.
and then you'll have another table of available seedlings.
Oh, that's right. I thought. Well, we also sell seeds. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, you
too.
sell seeds. Oh,
Yeah.
that's on you guys. We started to sell seeds and realized it's such a pain breaking up packs and all that stuff. We decided to stop.
We just do seedlings.
We just do seedlings.
Okay.
Yeah. And then seedlings, you can have a table and maybe do some varieties you don't carry here all the time.
Okay.
But just making sure that once again is so you know what your clientele is. You don't want to plant. Hey, I'm gonna plant 10 trays of seedlings because you're gonna have somebody come buy 2.
Right. I was gonna say, what do you charge per? Because when Mark came here, he said.
Yeah, we charge $1.25 for lettuces, $1.50 for herbs and greens. We charge $2 for longer term stuff like peppers, larger plants like cucumbers,
Okay.
stuff like that. Some like rosemary, some of the long-term crops, we charge $2 for it.
Okay.
We do strawberries for $2.35.
So the
We
harder stuff,
transplant those.
the harder to grow, the more it costs.
Basically, the more time it spends on the table.
Right. Okay, that makes
You know,
sense.
like celery I should charge $5 for, but because it takes 2 months, but I don't. So that price, I can send you our pricing, and you can look at that.
Yeah, that'd be right.
It's the same. It's the same as on our website.
Something
That's
similar.
just, you know, and I know a couple places out here charge a little bit more. You know, we can figure out pricing that works. You know, and I don't know if they'd have to agree with it.
Yeah.
You know, I just tell me, look, this is what I think. You know, because he wants to bring people in, so you want to have a fair price.
Right.
You
Because we
know?
don't want to charge $1.25 for everything and screw ourselves out of the labor that we did.
Yeah, and you gotta remember, I mean, cost-wise, lettuce are very cheap, except for Bib's, the most expensive out of all the lettuces. You know, it's just a lot of it comes down to, okay, how many times am I watering this lettuce before I go out, or I'm holding a red pepper that takes 3 times longer to grow.
Right.
You know, so the rock wool and the seed costs are the same. It's just the amount of time that goes into that seed.
Okay. And then
All right,
I want to see the tonic made.
we'll do that after lunch. We'll do that later. Doesn't take long. Actually, do you guys have a cordless drill here?
say again?
Do you have a cordless drill here?
Yeah. You got two. The drills?
You don't have a, you know, the like for
Mixer?
mixing, yeah, for
Cement.
mixing
I don't
mud.
think we have one of those.
One
Oh.
of those.
Huh?
That's clean,
But
or
not big. Not a big mother one.
because usually we just use a big stick, which takes about 2 hours. We use a drill and a paddle mixer, and we done in about 15 minutes. Well, that might work too. It's just mixing the initial nutrients together. That's hard. I just started using that because it saves a lot of time and actually gets it a lot better. Yeah, I told Tim, I just teach people the drill now. It's a lot easier.
So once it's mixed, it stays mixed?
Yes.
Is it just like a one-time thing?
Yep.
But you keep it aerated in there or not?
Nope.
No, it can just sit once it's mixed.
Yep, as long as it doesn't freeze or get over like 150 degrees, you're fine.
We should be fine here then.
And how do you know when it's sufficiently diluted when you?
I'll show you when we do it. As far as pest control, okay, we'll send you, make sure everybody has a recommended list. We have a couple different lists. But with this is always about being preventative. Especially now looking around, we have powdery mildew, stuff like that. Okay, we'll put you guys on a schedule of probably at least twice a week.
Okay.
Spraying the plants, okay, and it'll be a mixture. So generally a neem oil and a soap mixture, and I'll send you a list. MP soap is usually it's a commercial grade, because when it comes farm wise, what it is you know, you can buy like neem oil off the shelf, right? You can buy it at almost any store. Okay, well you have a regular neem oil, which is a residential grade, and you have a commercial grade. So commercial grade doesn't have a lot of the additives that you can buy off the shelf. So for somewhere like this, the commercial grade it's a lot cleaner. You don't get the same kind of residue you get with some of the cheaper stuff, which is always a problem. You ever notice if you spray neem oil enough, it kind of gets sticky on the tower? Well, the commercial grade doesn't get as sticky. Okay, so put on a schedule about 4 days. Okay, for right now, 4 to 5 days probably is going through and spraying with a neem oil. Okay, just because of the thrips and stuff like that we've seen.
Right.
All right, so go through, put those on a schedule. We're also going to have to put a schedule. You can actually do it at the same time by us doing a mill stop or a fungicide
Okay.
to get that down. And that's something, if it's a recurring problem, the two things we want to look for is if we're spraying it every 4 or 5 days, if the problem goes away, which is great. But if it keeps coming back, like I said, remember when I said about touching one plant going to another?
Right.
Okay, is that something else you have to watch? Is if it keeps going, or if you notice it, like we don't have an issue with the tower for a little while, and we're spraying, and all of a sudden it transfers over. It can also move with bees. It can also move with pretty much anything that can touch a leaf and go to another one. But 9 times out of 10, usually it's somebody that touches it. Okay, is this powdery mildew? And then go to another plant. It's just going on a schedule, just kind of vary those 2 sprays. Okay, sprays we always try and do after the sun goes down.
Okay.
Okay, I don't like the idea. A lot of people can say when you do it, the sun goes up. But if you spray neem oil really heavy or something like that, you can burn the leaves.
Okay.
So after the sun goes down, I don't know how it is in California, but in Florida, I have people. Oh, look, it's cloudy. It's noon. It's cloudy. We'll be fine. But Florida, we get cloudy, it rains, and it's sunny 5 minutes later. So it's always trying to do it to make sure you have a set period for it where you're not going to get burning on the leaves.
Okay.
So how much, what's that period of time that you need no sunlight? So if we get a lot of overcast in the summer
I still recommend doing it
at night.
at the end of the day.
No
Yeah.
problem.
And it would also probably be better here because you have less people around and stuff like that. Even though, and this is how I always looked at it, even though all the products that I recommend and we use are organic, is you still have somebody walking around with a sprayer. Everybody's like, well, what are they doing? What it is. So I always like doing it. At our greenhouse in down in the Keys, I spray at like 9 o'clock at night because there's no one around. So what are you spraying on there? Is that organic? Like, actually, it is. Well, what is it? I'm not going to give you my whole list. I don't know who you are. As far as doing that, it's being on the schedule. Mainly, it could be preventative.
Right.
You can back off. I mean, wintertime, of course, you end up with a lot less issues.
Right.
Especially pest-wise. When it cools off, the pests go more dormant. But staying on that schedule is preventative against your thrips and stuff like that. Thrips are one of the harder things to get rid of. They're one of the ones washing it doesn't always take care of it. And on your spray cycles is you can do your seedlings twice a week. If you notice you're not having any issues on your seedlings, and they're not really going out, you can just go ahead and do those once a week. Okay? And then that we'll go over, like I said, I'll get you a printed list
Okay.
of different products. Let me call Tim because he's out here. He'll give me the closest place to get him around here too.
Okay.
Green Coast
So.
is great.
Green Coast.
Hydroponics, yeah, on Moda.
Price wise, we want a commercial, somewhere that does them commercial sizes because neem oil will come in a 2-gallon and you can buy it at some stores. It'll be like $300. You buy it as a commercial farm, it's be $80. And like I said, it's also the grades that we use.
Same
So
concentration, or does the
it's the same concentration. It's just different. It's just you have to be a farm to buy most of it. It just has less additives in it usually. Which on 5-10 towers is no big deal. When you're doing 50 towers and having to wash them all the time, wash the residue off, it becomes more. So, and a lot of it's just mainly for cost. I mean, 2 gallons of neem oil lasts you 2 or 3 years. But it doesn't go bad, so you want to make sure that you're keeping it in here somewhere it's not out in the sun. So, those are the main things I've noticed out here. Worms, worms and the moth, they're just a fact of life. Generally, what I always find, if you guys see them on the plants more than you do on the seedlings?
On plants, yeah.
Yeah. See, we see more of the opposite in a lot of places.
Caterpillars on the seedlings?
Yeah, because they like it, the moths like it because A, it's wet, and B, because they're more tender. So, it's just inspecting both of them. Do you guys have major swarms out here? Like, I know some places where they'll have a migration of moths, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but
Thank
the
goodness.
moths will migrate, and all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of worms at one time,
Now you
and
keep
then they'll
them
kind
on
of
your
disappear.
side.
So, generally, worm control is, unless you have to spray, most people, you don't. Mostly it's picking off here or there. If not, you can add a Thuricide or BT to the mixture if you're spraying. So, all right, any questions?
what about ants?
Ants? Ants are usually attracted to like aphid poop or something like that. That's usually where they come from.
Mark told us just to use the
Mr. Braun?
the Bronner's pepper soap and vinegar.
The chemical trails we have to use a Clorox.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, he said kill their chemical
I
trails.
usually
and they
just
won't know.
spray around the towers with bleach,
Right.
and that usually takes care of them.
Yeah, because they won't know where to go or how to get back to the aphids. And then especially if we spray with the neem oil and the soap and on our schedule, that'll help dry out the aphids, and then that'll twofold do it, right? Sweet.
And supposedly coffee grounds.
Really?
Yep, coffee grounds are acidic and burn to ants when they try to crawl over it.
Huh.
Use coffee grounds.
You can try it.
Well, the last thing a lot of people want is coffee all over the ground around their towers
Smell
outside.
good. Smell good.
That is a good point. drill or mixer or anything like that. We're going to mix the nutrients tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
The only other thing is we'll readjust the nutrients in the pH because the acid's out. I'm not sure which one they're using. There's 2 different types in there.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to guess. And then we'll try to readjust everything to make sure that we're getting the right, because it seems like all these pH are a bit high. So we'll make sure we readjust everything, and then we'll go over so you guys can watch and make sure that anytime we add nutrients that we come out with the same pH, same EC. So, but once the dosers are set, that won't change for 4 months from now.
Okay.
We'll change it, and then we'll change it another 6 months after that.
So when you go around to the individual towers to lower the pH, what are you using? The pH down, or is that the stuff you use? That
At my place, yeah.
yeah.
I use pH down because, everything comes out pre-adjusted out of the doser and the gravity. But if you're only doing individual towers, pH down because it's probably one of the strongest stuff out there.
Yeah.
I tried general hydroponics, and you got to use so much of it
Right.
to get it to move. So,
Okay.
Harvest.
Well, we don't like completely take it off.
Oh yeah, we just take the tower down, and then the boys hit it with the pressure washer. We dump the water if it's nasty. If it's good, we keep it, and then we'll slap the tower back on, hook the pump back up, plug it in, plant, boom. But very rarely do we ever like rip them apart.
rip them apart. All right. And you don't use any bleach or any cleaning solution when you pressure wash them? Or you
Not
do?
anymore, no.
No more.
You used to.
We used to do
use
bleach
Lysol.
when we did it by hand,
Or Lysol too.
or Lysol.
Okay. Well, because one thing I'm looking like, first thing we have to do is get the powdery mildew under control.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll start spraying that. But also, if you're pulling it and it has powdery mildew, we do want to sanitize the outside of it.
Okay.
So one easy thing you can do, like before you pressure wash, is if you have a pump sprayer,
Yeah.
is put like 2 cups of bleach, fill the rest up with water. So when you pull the tower out, is give it a quick spray on the outside, and that'll kill any of the spores or anything on the tower. Because pressure washer doesn't always get it all off.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just move it, or usually it should, but you have to guarantee you cover every inch of it. And I know how I pressure wash, you just get the hard stuff off. You generally don't do the middle as much. So giving them, especially like if you pull one that has an issue, that we definitely want to sanitize the outside.
Okay.
And then every about 3 to 4 crop cycles, we do want to sanitize the inside. So instead of tearing it apart, because John said you guys were tearing them down every time. I'm like, no, I don't think so. I hope not.
No, we by tearing them down, we just pull them down.
Pull them down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So every about 3 to 4, because you still get some algae and stuff inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we can do, and this is your guys' option, but this is one of the easiest options I find.
Run
So if
bleach
you're
through the
cleaning
middle.
over here, is set up a reservoir with a pump. Okay, fill that reservoir up with a little bit of chlorine or bleach and water. All you do is take the tower, put it on, put the pump on, let it run for 10 minutes. And now what you do is you sanitize the whole inside
Without having to break it down.
without having to break it down. And then when you're pressure washing it, most of that bleach will rinse out. You let it air dry for 5 or 10 minutes. Most of it will dissipate. You put the tower back. So that's one of the easiest ways without breaking on the tower.
Nice.
Because I know a few other farms that break them down in between and I'm like, that is such a waste of time. Longer term crops like that mint, yeah, that one you're gonna break down. You're gonna soak those pots for an hour just to get the stuff off. But sanitizing wise, you can use one reservoir, but only do it when you have 5 or 6 or enough to do. Just doing one is kind of a waste of the time.
Yeah, because we have extra reservoirs in the back. We can probably set them up in a specific station and be like, this is the station for just.
Well, yeah, even if you do it somewhere, close to where you're cleaning them, you just kind of do an assembly line to get them broke down and clean.
All right. We can make that work.
Any other questions about yesterday?
No, I have it pretty much all written down.
Perfect. I like people that take notes because I'm
Yeah.
not good at it. I take notes and I put them away somewhere and forget them. So,
No, yeah, we absorbed it like a sponge.
all right. So let's make some nutrients. Good.
Did we still have to figure out the acid?
That's what I'm trying to figure out because we have 2 types of acid. I'm not sure which one they were using. So we're gonna go over. We can try. I don't know how strong the pH down is. Let me see what this says. 1 in 500. That's telling me that was. We can probably use that pH down, and what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and mix the nutrients. After we mix the nutrients, we're going to readjust the dosers. Okay, we're going to adjust this the acid doser with, because like I said, I don't know which one he was using, and that's the problem. There's a sulfuric acid at the bottom, then there's a pH down on
I
top.
think for the pH down, they would use it to these towers, right? To
Yeah, we put it in the towers.
Yeah.
to neutralize the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So-
Well, what we want to do is make sure that when we add when we do the nutrients and whatever acid we're using in here, that pH is coming out between 5.2 and 5.5. So we won't know that until everything's mixed. We start running it through. But like I said, with those two, I'm not sure which one he's been using in there, and that's the guessing part that I really don't like. So what we'll have to do is figure out which one that we're using. We'll stick with that one, and we'll adjust this doser for that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Well, first thing, we'll grab out the buckets: A1, A2, B1, B2.
Okay.
These tanks.
Ladies, germs.
I have a carbon and sediment filter. I wonder what the last time those were checked.
Love A1, dude.
Do you guys have any filters in there? Well, I'm just wondering. All right, so if we have filters back here, I don't know. They look like carbon filters and sediments. You know what? If you look in one of those bins, there's a big white, round-looking thing with a handle.
Yeah.
Is that still in there? Because usually that's to take the filters off. All right, so one thing. First thing we can do when you do this is go ahead and take both tanks and that and rinse this out really well. Rinse the tank really, really well.
Okay.
That's
So
kind of
where's-
This is just it's a sediment filter. So in case there's anything down there that's solid, it doesn't suck up into the dosers.
Like little rocks and stuff.
Little rocks, if you don't mix the minerals up real well, it's like a sand sediment, and we don't want that in there. So I'll give you that. We'll do the same thing with this one.
Is this the pH stuff?
What's that?
Is this pH?
No, this is the nutrients. The pH is here in this little bucket. So we use two parts, so it's A and B.
Yeah.
Okay, the A has more iron in it, so that's why it's much darker. The B should be clear. And this one, remember what I was saying about sediment? You see the stuff in the bottom? Brown stuff? That really shouldn't be there.
Okay.
But this should stop it from coming up into here.
And the reason you want it clean is you don't want it to get into the.
We don't want it
plug
into the
up lines.
dosers.
Into the
Yeah.
dosers, yeah.
I don't even remember last time these things have been changed.
I didn't even know. This is not light.
Never?
Not for a while. Alright, so what is that? I don't know. This is sediment. So this can probably be taken out. Like that. And rinsed out. I mean, it is a hydroponic filter. That should be able to just be rinsed. There's actually a couple of those filters in there too.
That looks
Put a new one,
familiar.
or-
For now, we could probably put a new one.
Okay.
Let me see. Well, let's make sure we have some. If not, we'll clean them out. Carbon.
How often do you have to change these?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I haven't dealt with these filters before, but you should have to check them at least. I would say at least every 6 months. But it also depends. It's a lot easier when you're on city water because you have a lot less sediment and junk in the water.
Then well water.
Yeah. Oh. That's a carbon filter. this end up? This filter is going to be a lot more expensive. This should be a solid. So that one should be taking out any extra chlorine or anything like that. But I don't know. That looks like it. You have another one that's solid like that looking?
It looks a little different. Should be about the same.
Is that even on the bottom?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, they're the same.
This might be an aftermarket.
That one looks newer.
Well, this one you can see all the calcium on it.
Yeah.
Does that one got? That one looks clean.
Yeah.
So that one's new.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just dirty. You did look dirty.
All right. So if you have a list, one thing you might want to add to the list is these are what hydrolock it. So they can you can get it probably at any hydroponic store online. You just might want to look for a new carbon and a backup carbon and a backup sediment filter. You got small arms, right? Yeah. Yes. Once we put the tank back, it might be hard to get back there. So this might take a little effort to do that.
Yeah. I think the O-ring went on the outside.
Yeah.
Right there.
Slip them on.
Faster than new one. How much are they? Expensive. Is that what you said?
I'm pretty sure that those aren't cheap.
You know how much they cost about?
I'm guessing 155.
Guessing
Plus tax.
more.
Oh, that one's probably like $20.
Oh,
That one,
it's gonna hurt your wallet.
I think we should. How about we check later? Everybody give them. Everybody should write down their guess and see who gets closest. All right. So I know activated.
Now, do you need to use the tool to tighten it? The white.
I wouldn't tighten it too much because I know they
Just
get
hand
pressure
tighten?
locked.
This hand.
Doesn't sound like the O-ring's in the right place. Maybe. Let's see. Let me try that again. Wait for a bang.
That'd be bad.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't see any leaks, do you?
No? Is it going? The water's on?
Yeah, water's on. Both got pressure. Same pressure one to the other, so that should be good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get these 2 tanks rinsed out.
Where do we dump this stuff?
It's wherever you don't want the rocks totally orange.
Okay. Can we pour it in plants or no? Probably not.
No. You know what you could do is take them both, put some water in a bucket. You can add them, and once you dilute it, you can add it
Okay.
gently to some of the plants.
Gently. I was gonna say. You know what this hose to nowhere is for?
This will be for filling up those. This is just straight water. I guarantee you they use this when they fill up the bins when they're mixing nutrients.
Oh.
That's why it's down here, so it's easy access. That's also why you don't need an end on it because they'll only use it for that. So not this long.
PVC stick.
Yeah. We need something to mix up. And it doesn't have to be PVC. It just has to be clean. I mean, if not, you could probably just use this. It's just something to mix it up. All right, so first thing you do, you want to put maybe 5 or 10 gallons at the bottom. Not getting yourself all wet.
Good 5 to 10.
Oh, I forgot. That's a new filter, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to run all the charcoal, extra charcoal out of it.
I see. So you said 5 to 10 gallons?
Yeah, because what it is if you fill it all the way up, it's too hard to mix. So you're gonna put about 5-10 gallons in it, get most of it mixed up, add another 5 or 10 until all dry mix is diluted. Alright guys, watch out. We don't want a bunch of charcoal in it. That would be good.
There's a lot of that.
Tomato plants water.
Woo! Thanks, Jason.
I try to do my part.
Team player.
Alright, you guys can go ahead and open the A's up. Alright, so A1 and A2 basically means that both of those. Alright guys, look, there's a little tab you have to break. There you go, a little tab. Alright, so this is one important thing. Okay, so when we're mixing them, especially doing by hand, takes a little while to get it all dissolved. So what we generally do, we'll start with one, mix it up. It's very important to make sure that all A stays in A, all B stays in B. So as we're doing it, if somebody could grab the other cover.
Yeah.
Oh, here.
There's right there.
Throw the lid on, and that's just to ensure that you don't accidentally add the wrong one. Because if not, you just wasted about $350.
Holy crap. A lot of money.
Okay, so the other thing, if you look inside of there, there should be 2 silico packs.
Okay.
Yep. Pull those 2 silico packs out, those don't go in.
Whatever that is.
Okay, so in the A, remember how A is really dark?
Yep.
So that's the iron. So there's 2 buckets, and that's the bag of iron that goes in as well. Okay, so anytime anything we add here, what we do is use the hose to rinse out the bucket to make sure we get any leftover stuff out and into the mix.
And why are there 2 parts of A? Just curious.
Because there's 2 parts of B.
Okay. So, I mean, why did they come in 2 different buckets? I don't know.
Why? Because you see how full that bucket is?
Okay. Okay, so it just
Yeah, if you get a 10-gallon bucket, you want to be able to pick it up.
right.
We should have Dave carry. He would have answered his own question. All right, so with these, very carefully, okay, you can lay it all the way down in here, just so you don't splash yourself. Not really, but I have to teach. I have to teach you guys the right way. Because I mean, eventually, when you get all the nutrients in there, if you splash yourself in the eye, you got to remember these are a lot of earth salts. So it's like having really strong salt water in your eye. Rinse out the bucket, get everything out, and then, since I'm the trainer, this is your guys' job is to mix. Well, what we'll do is start mixing this up because it's just easier. One thing you want to do is make sure you rinse that off really well because we don't want to introduce any kind of chemicals, bacteria.
Oh yeah. Way to go.
How are you doing today? Not too bad. What's that? That's what's
Should we take turns?
Yeah. I'll do it when I get tired.
You'll look in the bottom and you will see no more. You see how they're all small, almost like beads? Once you see no more in the bottom. And then we'll fill it up, and then at the end, what we'll do is we'll use the top of this, and you can do this. If you hear crunching sounds, that means there's still more mix in this.
Okay.
Yep.
Alright. I'm next.
Dane next.
Oh, so that's how it feels.
And I'll fill this with some water.
Yep. Well, here, I was gonna. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll mix it up for a few more minutes, and then, because eventually, I mean, it'll slowly dissolve by itself, but it'll take way too long. So we'll do that just a little more. We'll put the lid on that one, and then we'll start the bead. And then from there, we'll just kind of go back and forth mixing it.
So I can see that they've probably filled it up to that, like right there. Is that a good amount?
Well, there's a line. There should be a line. It'll be. You have a Sharpie?
Yeah.
I'll make lines for you.
You think the Sharpie will last?
Yeah, the Sharpie in mine last.
Come on, Dane. Sure.
Come on, Dave. Let's go, Dave.
Hour 27.
It's like you're trimming butter.
Yeah.
So how long will the nutrients last, roughly?
So last year, they're good for about 10,000
Here's where we
gallons
fill it
of
up to, and
finished
the
water.
no-no.
So, and the farm this size, roughly,
There's one mistake.
how many towers here? 100 and...
Said 40 and...
Alright, Dane.
I can do this all day. It's cool.
Oh, no, she's
It was
next.
84. See, everybody has a different answer. So 84, it should last about 6 months. But you don't get the heat like other
Good,
places.
you're gonna re-release it.
So. Alright, you guys want to open up those bees?
Yes, sir. We had to clean the filters that go in there too, right? The little ends.
Cleaned them. They're right here.
Okay.
Do you think I may do something that happened?
The filters?
No, just watch.
You're saying if Dane disappeared.
Yeah, I'll probably bring it to this one.
So when do you add the iron to the A solution?
Alright, so before we go any farther,
Cap A.
before she's done, we're going to get the iron in. So here, I'll let you do that. You guys see that. Dump the iron in, same thing. Rinse out the bag really well to get all the iron out. That's one of the main things in our patent, our micronutrients. So if you look in here, you see the little blue specks?
Yeah. Yep.
That's the dry form of our micronutrients.
Oh shoot.
So
Do you hold a patent on these?
the nutrients are patented, yes.
And what's the value of that? Just for the camera.
It's more designed for plant and human health.
Right.
So it's making sure all the plants have the right nutrients for themselves and for us. All right, you can take a break for that for 1 sec. Put the lid back on. We'll rinse that off.
Right behind you. Oh wow. It looks like
Put these in, do the same thing.
Yep. I think that one was B1, right?
Does it matter which one?
No, not really, but some people like to go 1, 2, AB. And I'm like, look, there's 2 red.
Real
I'll
low
just do a red.
Squat. There you go. Get deep in there.
Jesus. Oh yeah.
Is it not going to
Nope.
Why? Oh, it's like kind of blocky.
Can we like
Kind of
break
blocky.
it?
Would it be so blocky?
Could be some moisture got in it.
Well then.
So re-asked your question for the video and then make a comment so I have it down because I wasn't recording. So you asked about pH down and acid. Why don't you just make a comment?
I'm still trying to figure it out. Yeah, he said basically it's not pure acid.
It's not pure. It's not pure acid in the container.
Find you a decent backpack sprayer. Because that one will work fine. It's going to take a long time.
Should we
Like I
have,
said, there's no battery for it, so we gotta get this sprayed fairly soon.
should only one person be doing it?
Spraying?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's only one sprayer, so
But if we were to get another one, should it still only be one person or can it be 2?
it's better just to have one because you don't want to accidentally not pay attention and be both of your 2 sides of the tower spraying at each other.
Yeah. You said twice a week?
We're gonna do twice a week, every about 4 days, be preventative. So of course it'll overlap weeks.
So Tuesday, Friday?
And then if you do have an issue, you're just gonna spray a little more often to take care of any issues.
Okay.
So, but that can be a spot spray. That can be a pump sprayer if you have issues with one tower is just to spray that single tower by itself. Do it a little bit higher. Summer, of course, you get some evaporation. Winter times we don't. So this will be about good for us, but the pH is too high.
Is it supposed to be steamy?
Huh?
Supposed to be steamy?
It's when you first run the nutrients through, and through a hose that's been sitting for a while. So what it is the little bubbles. All right, so we'll dump this out. I don't like those green hoses.
You don't like the green hoses? I don't know what they're making so much.
All right, so as far as pest control, preventative spraying, we're gonna have a backpack sprayer here. So we're gonna use preventative treatment of Triact, which is a neem oil, and a mixture of MP'd soap, which is an insecticidal soap that actually helps the neem oil stick. Dilution rates will be on the bottles, which is 15 milliliters per gallon. The sprayer holds 3 gallons, so of course you can do the math. So we're gonna do equal parts of Triact and MP'd soap. Okay, we're gonna spray after the sun goes down. So whatever time sunset is, within 30 minutes of that, that's to avoid any burning of the leaves or any other issues that the sun can cause when it comes to pesticides. Spraying wise, we're gonna spray that mixture on all plants, top and bottom of the leaf, soaking each plant well, moving from one side of the farm to the other. We wanna make sure all the plants are covered well. And we also wanna do this application every about 4 days. Okay, so that's rotating every 4 days, and that's for being preventative. Okay, and that's going to help control any kind of mites, most of our insects. It does help with some funguses. As far as fungus, powdery mildew, which seems predominant down in this area, we're going to use a mixture of a millstop or pure spray green. Okay, both of those are 1 tablespoon per gallon. But please double check the labels, of course, before you use it. Same rules apply. We do it after the sun goes down. We're gonna make sure we spray and coat each tower, top of the plants all the way down to the bottom on both farms. We'll do that every 4 days. If we do have an issue, we can do that every 3 days until the issue is taken care of. As far as that, if there's any other pests identified or we're not sure of, please get a hold of whoever the farm manager is or myself, and then we can find out a treatment for that.
So the biggest issues right now are?
Biggest issues that we see right now are, of course, aphids, which are attracted to your green leafies like your kales, your Swiss chard. There are some thrips, which are very small, which like to do damage to the outside of the lettuce leaves, and of course powdery mildew. So the crows hopefully will be taken care of, so those won't be an issue. Very rarely are you going to have any issues with worms. They're usually small, so small issues like that are more to inspect and pick off the worms as they come along.
Okay. But what do you notice that tells you that it's a nutrient or pH problem? Why don't you just kind of go over that briefly?
Well, for plant-wise, we always want to double-check the towers. We want the pH between a 5.5 and 6.5 range. Anything above 6.5, you'll notice yellowing plants, browning leaves, of course. Also, we want to check the TDS in each tower. The TDS reading should be anywhere summertime between 1.4 and right around 2. Wintertime can be anywhere from 2 up to 2.5. Okay, so we'll check individual towers. In between crop cycles, we're also going to check the towers. We're going to make sure that TDS doesn't get too high, because if the water's not changed, those nutrients can become concentrated. So once we start getting above 3, we want to empty out the water, clean the reservoir, and refill with new water.
Why don't you talk a little bit about cleaning and the cycle of that? How often?
Cleaning the towers, pressure wash, clean all the calcium deposits. We're going to clean the towers on the outside really good between crop cycles. Every 3 to 4 months, we do want to sanitize the inside of the tower. So a 20-gallon external reservoir with about 1 cup of chlorine or 2 cups of bleach per 20 gallons. Put the tower on with a pump, use the same pump in that reservoir, because of course the chlorine will eventually wear it out. And just let it run for about 10 to 15 minutes. Take it off, pressure wash it, let it air dry for about a half hour, and then return the tower back into service.
Oh, talk a little bit about seedlings and the density of.
All right,
of
seedlings and densities. Of course, all our seedlings are a little bit different. Your spring mix that we do here, of course, is perfect. We're going to do about 8 to 10 seeds. Herb-wise, most herbs we like denser. So all your parsleys, your dills, everything except chives, we try to do anywhere from 10 to 15 seeds. Garlic chives, since there are 1 chive per seed, we always try and keep it around 20 seeds. Single bibs, or single lettuces, anything from your bibs, your romaines, we all do single seeds. Kales and greens, depending on use, if we're doing live plants, then we'll do about 10 to 15 seeds. If we're doing cut and regrow plants, we're doing about 2 seeds. It's just so that plant canopy has enough to have adequate regrowth and no crowding. That's about it.
Okay. Planting cycles, comments about that.
Planting cycles are going to vary, so that's going to be
Individual.
varying plant, yeah.
Okay. You've looked at the facility and what's currently developed. Talk briefly, if you had a vision and this were your facility, what's possible for here? Obviously, there's more property and there's room for probably a greenhouse or whatever. I mean, if you looked at this, what do you find the strengths of this facility and what do you find the opportunities for growth?
The strengths for this facility is, well, one, it's the staff, one, it's the passion that they have. A lot of it comes down to is you can utilize a lot of the unused space, even in the farm right now, to as you expand the CSA, as you expand customers when it comes to growing, there's plenty of place to expand towers. But there's also places to expand on the education, whether it's tower garden growing classes, whether it's seeding classes, things to get the community involved. It's a perfect learning center for everywhere from kids to adults.
If this were your farm, what would you do more of? Knowing the program, I mean, obviously the goal is feed one.
Knowing the program, I would be doing more of variety. I would be changing up my crops, giving people different experiences every month, every couple months, trying out new things, everything from, they got some really good chefs in there. So anything from different fennels to just random ingredients that the chefs can make stuff out of.
So basically mixing up the whatever's being planted so that they have more opportunity.
I get bored eating the same thing.
Me too. Talk a little bit about the lettuces that are drying out and how you would approach the tower planning. You were saying that they require a little bit more because they're drying out because they're a little bit more fragile.
No, I looked at them this morning and I think it's more we're having an issue with the powdery mildew, and that's affecting the sunlight on the leaves.
Okay.
So I think the powdery mildew and the high pH, if we can get those fixed, then
it should resolve itself. Okay.
So when it comes to the pest management, especially with stuff like powdery mildew, to ensure that as we try to get it down, it doesn't spread. If you're working with plants who do have powdery mildew on it or pest on it, once you're done with that tower, you want to wash your hands and of course some dish soap and water, sanitize so we're not spreading any kind of mildews, fungus, or pests between towers. So if we do have an issue on one tower, then we can keep it condensed down to that one tower and not spread it to others. So if you know you're working with something that may be contaminated, we want to make sure we wash our hands and our utensils. So that means if you're using scissors, clippers, anything like that, clean and sanitize those before we go on to the next tower.
About the process of getting that towers clean and what's required to basically clean up the whole farm.
So if we're going from where we are with a few different issues, besides our spray schedules and sanitizing in between crops, or in between moving from tower to tower, is as we go and harvest the towers we have now, we want to make sure those towers are taken out. We're going to spray with a light bleach and water solution on the outside of the tower. They'll be pressure washed, sanitized, and then return to service. So we'll do that anytime we have at least 3 to 4 towers empty. Herbs are always really good for recutting. Your lettuce, not lettuces, your parsleys, your basil, stuff like that, always good for cut and regrow. It saves down labor. You can actually get more of an abundance, but you also have to get it to the end user a little bit quicker. Kale, Swiss chard, same thing. You know, cut and regrow, you can extend those plants for 6 months without additional seeding and propagation and replanting and maintenance. If you're cutting and regrowing, we're sanitizing in between crop cycles, so anywhere from 6 to 8 months. Towers will be broken down, taken apart, bleached, cleaned, put back together. Those with older crops, you're just going to take the whole tower apart, pot, clean them out, empty them, put them back together.